Welcome everyone to the first reading of The Perfect Night, a Cinderella story. This is a staged reading, which is like the intermediate phase of a play, somewhere in between a cold reading and the full production. Stage directions are read aloud while the actors do the rest. It's a lot of fun, and we're glad that you can be here watching it with us.
Hi, I'm Rachel Rupnow, and I play Cinderella.
I'm Noah Redmore, and I'm playing George.
I'm Hailey Smith, and I'm playing Arianna.
Hi, I'm Sandra Bohn. I'm playing the evil stepmother and Lady Caroline.
Hi, I'm Terri Reid. I'm playing the fairy godmother and Lady Anne.
I am Andrew Reid, and I'm playing Prince Charles Charming.
I am Shawn Killingbeck, and I'm playing Wadsworth and Timothy.
And I'm Rachel Ahrens. I am going to be the narrator and Lady Elizabeth. Act 1, Scene 1, the interior of Cinderella's house. Cinderella and George are on stage. Cinderella has a mop and George has a broom. Instead of cleaning, they are sword fighting.
En garde, Black Knight.
You will never defeat me. I have trained in broom fighting for years, and my broom is as sharp as my wit.
I will be quite safe then.
Hey, that was a low blow.
No, this is.
Cinderella swings the mop at George's knees, catching him behind the leg. He stumbles and falls behind the couch.
I can fight from here.
Cinderella!
Oh no, I thought she was napping.
Cinderella, where are you?
Quick, you have to hide.
Cinderella looks around wildly and shoves George into the closet. She pretends to mop with her dry mop as her stepmother enters the room.
Cinderella, what is going on in here? I thought I heard voices.
No, stepmother, just me, just singing to myself. En garde, Black Knight, you will never defeat me. Right, cleaning.
It looks to me like very little cleaning has been going on in here. You are useless, girl. Now, where's my little comfort? Arianna, my sweet, where are you, dear?
Coming, Mother. You called for me, Mother?
Yes, my pet. Prince Charming's ball is tonight, and we need to make the final alterations on your gown. We want him to see you for the royal treasure you are.
But Mother, the dress is fine, and I hate alterations. You know I can't stand still, and I always get poked with pins.
We don't want your dress to be just fine, though. We want it to be perfect. Only perfect will make the prince want to marry you. What if we get Cinderella to wear the dress while the alterations are made? Go, switch dresses with Arianna. And be quick, girl, we don't have all night.
Arianna minces off stage and Cinderella hurries after her. While Cinderella and Arianna are changing dresses, stepmother walks around the stage, tidying up and prepping for the fitting. She puts a box out for Cinderella to stand on, then picks up a bowl to put in the closet. She calls behind her as she reaches to put the bowl away and does not see George hiding there.
Girls, hurry up!
Coming, Mother.
Coming, Mother.
George takes the bowl from stepmother as she hands the bowl in.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Stepmother closes the door and walks away from the closet, but stops and looks confused. She starts to walk back to the closet, but Arianna and Cinderella enter the room after switching dresses.
Let's do this quick. The fabric is so rough. Ugh.
We'll be quick, my pet. Go get the pins. Cinderella, stand up here.
Cinderella stands on the box while the other two start pinning.
Ouch.
Don't move.
Oh, Mother.
Will never work. This dress will never be perfect, and I will never marry the prince.
Darling, don't worry. Just a few more tweaks.
Ouch.
A chime is heard, and there is a puff of smoke from stage left. Fairy Godmother stumbles onto the stage backwards. Her dress is skewed and her crown is tilted on her head. She trips, adjusts her dress and her crown, then stands with her arms outstretched like she made a dazzling entrance. Only Cinderella notices her. No one looks up. Cinderella tries to wave but gets jabbed with a pin. This time, stepmother turns around. She looks annoyed at the interruption.
Who are you?
I am this poor girl's fairy godmother. You obviously have neglected her. Look at this dress she has on. It's awfully coarse. It's probably making her itch. Oh, but she will go to the ball tonight in a perfect dress, and I will use my magic to make it happen. And now I will use my wand to change your dress of rags into the perfect ball gown.
Arianna spreads her arms ready for the perfect gown. Fairy Godmother waves her wand over Arianna. Nothing happens.
Well, never mind. I will call my forest friends to come to your side, dear girl.
Forest creatures come rushing onto the stage, each with pieces of a dress. They dress Arianna while she swats at them, as she obviously does not like animals. Finally, the forest creatures are done, and Arianna is wearing a lovely dress created from the pieces of clothing worn over the dress she is already wearing. Her hair is done up, the forest creatures scatter, and Fairy Godmother admires her handiwork.
There now, you look lovely. And now I shall magically transport you to the ball. Poof. And now I shall transport you to the ball in the Bugatti Veyron that I drove here. Come along, dear. Oh, and you, wicked stepmother, may as well come too and see this poor dear girl triumph at the ball.
Of course. Dear girl, I'm sorry to leave you behind, but I must go watch my stepdaughter triumph at the ball. Why don't you try working on your song while you finish the floors?
Arianna and Fairy Godmother exit with stepmother, following behind them. George comes out of hiding.
Wait, you've made a mistake. I really wanted to go to the ball. It's just not right.
It's okay. There will be other balls.
Right, because we have so many princes in the area looking for wives.
Okay, fine. There won't be other balls. You're just gonna have to go to this one then.
In this, I'm sure I'll be a huge hit.
This can be fixed.
George starts picking at the dress and pulling pieces off. The dress is looking more simple and elegant now. Finally, he pulls the lacing in the back and the dress fits nicely.
George, I didn't know you had this in you. This is perfect. But how am I going to get there?
George holds up a broom.
This.
Wrong fairy tale, George.
No. There's a 64 Mustang of my dad's in the barn. He will never know. Let's go. We just may need to sweep off some cobwebs.
That sounds perfect.
George holds his arm out to her and the two exit together. Scene 2. The ballroom of the castle. The prince is lounging sideways on the throne while his advisor Wadsworth directs preparations for the ball.
You there, make sure those decorations are straight. And you, I want to see my reflection in that mirror. Sire, your guests will be arriving any minute. You should make yourself presentable.
The prince sighs and stands, straightening his royal uniform, and brushes a speck of dust off the arm. He strolls over to the mirror and removes a golden comb from an inside pocket and combs his hair.
Perfect as always.
Wouldn't you say, Wadsworth?
Of course, Your Highness.
And my hair is magnificent. See how the light hits it just right. It's practically glowing.
Like the sun at noonday.
And my eyes, such an amazing shade of blue. And like a lake.
And just as shallow.
What was that, Wadsworth?
As blue as a cloudless sky, Your Highness. Oh, look! Your guests have started to arrive.
Guests begin to enter and are announced by Timothy, a servant. Each girl stops and hands Timothy a card that he reads their names from as they go to the prince. Each girl knocks the other out of the way as they vie for the prince's attention.
Lady Caroline of Somerset.
So pleased to make your acquaintance, Your Highness.
Lady Anne of Dunchester.
Your Excellency, Dunchester brings you greetings.
Lady Elizabeth of the Lakes.
Your Majesty, to be in your presence tonight is all I have ever wanted. The sound of a car engine is heard. Everyone stops and turns. Arianna steps onto the stage with stepmother coming in behind her. Arianna doesn't even stop for Timothy. She goes right to Prince.
Lady.
Stepmother whispers into Timothy's ear.
Arianna of the Duchy of Undershire.
Arianna takes her place at the throne. The prince is obviously enchanted with her.
Thank you for coming today to join us in the celebration his birthday of His Royal Highness, Prince Charles Charming.
Prince waves distractedly but continues chatting with Arianna.
Let the celebration begin.
Cinderella hurries onto the stage. She trips as she does and sprawls on the floor. A few couples turn and point and snicker, then return to dancing. Prince and Arianna don't even notice. George comes in and gallantly helps Cinderella up. Stepmother notices the two and moves over to them.
Made quite the entrance, my dear. A little late, though. The prince has already found his perfect partner.
Stepmother smiles like she has won and walks away.
Well, at least we made it to the ball.
You really wanted to be the one dancing with the prince, didn't you?
I just thought that this would be my fairy tale. My fairy godmother would come and make everything perfect. Then I would be whisked off to the ball, where I would dance the night away with the prince and live happily ever after.
How do you know you would live happily ever after with the prince? You've never even met him before. He could be a terrible bore, or have the temper of an ogre.
No, he's too handsome to be a bore, and too perfect to be an ogre. We would definitely live happily ever after.
Being perfect isn't so great. I bet he can't even handle a broom.
That's because he has a sword.
You really want to be the one dancing with him?
More than anything.
George takes a deep breath, nods with determination, and strolls across the stage to where Arianna and Prince are dancing. He stops them and bows deeply to the prince, who stops and lets go of one of Arianna's hands so he can bow back. George takes the opportunity to step in and dances Arianna away from the prince. She protests, but George hangs on. He looks over to Cinderella and motions her to join the prince with his head. Cinderella grins and clasps her hands at George like he is her hero, and hurries over to the prince. She is obviously pretty, and Prince does not seem upset to have his partner replaced.
Hello. I don't think I've met you before.
Your Majesty, my name is Ella. My name is Ella. I'm so happy to finally meet you.
Of course you are. Why wouldn't you be? Ella, will you honor me with a dance?
That would be perfect.
I am, aren't I?
Prince and Cinderella dance off together. Meanwhile, Arianna is still struggling to get away from George. Finally, she stomps on his foot. He doubles over in pain and lets go of Arianna, who stalks off to stand by her stepmother. George limps over to the other side of the stage to nurse his foot.
Mother, she is ruining my perfect night.
Don't worry, darling. We will think of something.
A chime is heard, and there is a puff of smoke from stage left, and Fairy Godmother enters. She coughs and fans the smoke away. She has ash on her face. She takes out a compact and tuts at her appearance and quickly cleans up, then hurries over to Arianna.
My dear, what is wrong? This is supposed to be your perfect night.
That's what's wrong. That horrid girl is dancing with my prince.
Oh dear. Now we can't have that. I will just have to take care of that girl using my magic.
And make sure she never comes back.
Fairy Godmother waves her wand in a complicated series of movements, then points her wand at Cinderella and Prince. Nothing happens, and the two keep dancing.
And that is when I rushed in with my sword and said,
On guard, you black knight.
yes. Then I raised my sword, my perfect hair shining like the noonday sun.
Fairy Godmother pats Arianna comfortingly as she cries and indicates that she will try again. Fairy Godmother performs an even more complicated gesture with her wand and again points it at Cinderella and the prince. Again, nothing happens.
I strode onto the battlefield, my blue eyes.
As blue as a cloudless sky.
You know me so well. That's exactly what my eyes look like. You understand me.
Cinderella sighs happily and puts her hand on the prince's shoulder. They continue to dance. Arianna cries harder. Stepmother moves closer to Fairy Godmother.
Do something about this.
Fairy Godmother nods with determination, hikes up her skirt, and strides over to the prince and Cinderella. She sticks out her foot as Cinderella dances by, and Cinderella goes sprawling on the floor. Stepmother gives Arianna a push towards the prince, and Arianna hurries over, stepping over Cinderella, and takes Prince's hand.
Your Highness, I thought I would never get back to you, but I knew we would be together again. We made such a great couple.
Arianna giggles and leans her head on Prince's shoulder and leads him away. Prince glances back at Cinderella on the floor. He seems torn about whether he should be flattered by Arianna or whether he wants to be back with Cinderella. He allows himself to be led away, though. George hurries over and picks Cinderella up from the floor.
Are you all right?
He's so perfect. Perfect hair, perfect eyes, perfectly dancing away with my stepsister. Oh, George.
Yes, yes, his hair, his eyes. But what else?
What more do you need?
Good conversation, good manners, the ability to talk about something other than his own perfect features.
He talks about more than his features. He's brave and strong.
Fine. I got one more trick for you.
George walks up to Wadsworth and whispers in his ear. Wadsworth immediately stands up on the platform.
In honor of his royal prince's birthday, we have prepared a special surprise. Your Highness, will you come up here, please?
Wadsworth waves his hand and beckons Timothy to carry in a large cake. The table is brought to the center of the stage. Everyone stops dancing and begins to clap. Prince leaves Arianna, goes to the center of the stage with the cake. He's looking around trying to find Cinderella in the crowd. George maneuvers Cinderella to a spot near the prince. Prince brightens up when he sees her.
Your Highness, would you like to share a few words to us on your birthday?
Thank you all for making this perfect evening. Excuse me.
Prince steps off the platform and takes Cinderella by the hand and ushers her off the stage and onto a balcony. The light on the main stage dims. The characters continue to dance as the ball progresses without the prince and Cinderella. Stepmother and fairy godmother talk while Arianna pantomimes weeping. A spotlight comes up on the balcony area as Prince leads Cinderella to a bench and helps her sit.
You are the one. I feel like I can be completely myself around you. You listen. You know just the right things to say. You are perfect.
You are perfect too. I
want to tell you more about myself.
Prince sits and starts talking as the spotlight dims on the balcony and the lights on the main stage come back up. Fairy Godmother is tapping her wand determinedly, trying to figure out what to do next.
I don't understand what the problem is. Poor girl is helped by her fairy godmother and becomes a princess. The fairy tale practically writes itself.
There, my pet. Mother will make it right. So, how does that wonderful magic wand of yours work?
Fairy Godmother shows Stepmother the magic wand and looks as if she is explaining the finer intricacies of spell casting as the light on the main stage dims. The light comes back up on Cinderella and the prince again. Cinderella is looking bored and antsy as the prince continues to talk.
There I was, outnumbered. My men had all returned, but I stood my ground. My armor shone, and my hair...
gleamed like the noonday sun.
It did. And so I faced them. My eyes...
were as blue as a cloudless sky. You know what my favorite thing to do is? I love to sword fight.
So do I. You should see me when I have a sword in my hand.
I'm sure you look great.
Great. I look perfect. My hair...
Yes, your hair gleams, your eyes are blue. But what else?
What more is there? What more do you need?
Good conversation, good manners, and, well, being willing to help a friend, even when she is less than perfect. Your Highness, thank you for a perfect evening. I think that perfect is overrated, though. Goodbye.
Cinderella kisses Prince on the cheek and moves to the patio doors. She reaches for the handle, just as Stepmother points the wand at it. There is a flash as the door flies open. Cinderella jumps back into the prince's arms in surprise. She untangles herself quickly and stumbles as she loses her shoe and hurries out of the doors as Stepmother, Fairy Godmother, and Arianna come in. Prince is looking dazed. Stepmother, Fairy Godmother, and Arianna all talk at him at once. He bends over and picks up Cinderella's shoe. He tries to go after her, but the other three are blocking his way. Cinderella crosses the stage to where George is chatting with Timothy and eating a piece of cake. Cinderella taps George on the shoulder.
How are things going with the prince?
I've had enough perfect for one night. Can we go home?
I thought you would never ask.
George offers Cinderella his arm, and the two walk out of the ballroom together. Scene 3. Back at Cinderella's house the next day. Cinderella is sweeping, Stepmother is sewing, and Arianna is dancing around the room.
Oh, Mother, what a perfect evening after Ella left. The prince stayed with me the rest of the night. Once I got him to stop talking about the mysterious girl and the shoes she left behind. We had a wonderful evening.
Really, Cinder? Leaving footwear at the prince's palace? How thoughtless. Just like you. No prince wants a thoughtless girl.
No, just a brainless girl who will hang on his every word.
What was that?
No, Stepmother. He would not want a thoughtless girl.
We talked for hours. He told me about his adventures. Oh, Mother, he is amazing. His hair gleams.
Like the noonday sun.
What?
What?
Don't mind her. You are perfect, my dear. Exactly what a perfect prince needs. And if I am not mistaken, the prince will be coming through that door any minute to propose to you.
Arianna, stepmother, and Cinderella all stare at the door expectantly.
Any minute?
All three look back at the door.
Any minute.
All three stare at the door.
Well, he will be here before you know it, and then...
There is a knock at the door. Arianna runs to the door, smooths her dress and fluffs her hair, and opens the door with a flourish. George is standing there with a basket.
Hi, Arianna. Is Ella here? My mom sent me over with...
Arianna closes the door in his face and walks dejectedly over to her stepmother. Cinderella drops her broom and runs to the door. She takes the basket from George, and the two go over to a table to talk. There is another knock at the door. This time, stepmother goes to the door and answers it. It is Prince and Wadsworth. Wadsworth is holding a shoe on a pillow. When Arianna sees Prince, she goes through her routine of smoothing her dress and fluffing her hair again, and runs forward to meet him.
Girls, Your Highness, welcome to our home.
The prince looks around and sees Cinderella talking to George. He hurries over and steps in between the two. He kneels as Wadsworth steps over with the pillow and lowers it to the prince.
You are the girl I've been searching for. My perfect princess.
Cinderella looks at the prince, then at George and Arianna. She gently pushes the shoe away and walks over to Arianna. Cinderella bends down and takes one of Arianna's shoes and then Arianna's hand. She leads Arianna to the prince and puts her in front of him. Then Cinderella changes Arianna's shoe for her own.
Your Highness, here is your perfect princess. She knows all about you. Your hair, your eyes. She will hang on your every word.
Ella, I
already found someone who's perfect for me.
Cinderella walks over and hugs George, who is happy to hug her back. The prince gazes at Arianna.
You know all about me. My hair.
That gleams like the noonday sun.
And my eyes?
That are as blue as a cloudless sky.
My perfect princess! Come to the castle. We have much to talk about.
Prince slips the shoe back on Arianna and they leave holding hands, followed by stepmother and Wadsworth, who looks at Cinderella and George. He rolls his eyes and shakes his head in reference to the departing couple before closing the door.
Good luck.
My lady, how will you ever find your perfect prince now?
I think I already found him, and he is perfect for me.
Cinderella picks up the broom she was sweeping with and tosses it to George. George catches it and laughs as Cinderella picks up the mop.
On guard, Black Knight.
You will never defeat me.
Cinderella and George commence sword fighting as the lights on the stage dim.